sight. On our way now, gonna make it happen, and all systems are go. A-OK now, rambling it around.
I'm Charlie Jones. This is Nancy Peace Marshall. We're in Miami Beach, Florida for the American Professional Gymnastics Classic.
And you know, the atmosphere here is so different than a normal international competition where everybody is so serious and intense. They don't really have the opportunity to enjoy the audience. Well, that's the goal of today's performance, is enjoying the audience and playing to the crowd. In fact, it's almost like a professionalized show of gymnastics.
We will have competition today.
And I think because of the difficulty that the athletes have to use in that competition and the experience and maturity that they've gained over the years, we're going to see many gymnasts who are in the top shape of their lives.
And those top gymnasts will include Susan Cheesebrough.
Susan's a British national champion, two-time Olympian, obviously comfortable in front of a crowd.
And we'll see the former Maryland State champion and a two-time All-America at Arizona State University, Shirley Wong.
Shirley's a polished performer, and you know, Charlie, we're also going to see some men. Kurt Thomas, Ron Galimore, just a few of the names that we'll see.
And Sharon Shapiro, two-time collegiate all-around champion while at UCLA. All of this and competition, too. We'll be back in a moment. And now it's time for the professional competition to begin. The women will be performing in 3 of the 4 events for prize money. And to lead it off, the first competitor in the vault will be Sharon Shapiro.
Sharon is attempting a handspring front somersault out.
Good landing.
Pretty good vault. Sharon has an aggressive run. Doesn't quite get the amplitude off the horse that she needs, so she lands a little short.
There are 2 judges in the competition. They average their score. Sharon, a 9.25. That does seem a little bit low. Next up in the vault is Beth Johnson, a former member of the national team.
There's a full twist on the horse, full twist off. That vault is a visually exciting vault, and of course, the gymnasts are trying to please the crowds. I'm not real impressed here as she pushes off the horse. Not a whole lot of afterflight, loosens up in the body.
Beth Johnson's score, a 9.55.
That seems a little high, Charlie, compared to Sharon Shapiro's 9.25. We'll see what happens next.
Still in the first round, let's move to the uneven parallel bars, and here's 20-year-old Shirley Wong of Tempe, Arizona.
Shirley's mount, vault onto the low bar into a handstand, right into a front somersault. Cast up to a handstand, little flare there on the pirouette. Clear hip handstand, full twisting flyaway. Well, Charlie, you know, I talked about the athletes trying to please the crowd. Shirley puts a little bit of that flair into her bar routine here. Notice how she lifts her arm as she pirouettes. Don't see that very often.
And the scores for Shirley, a 9.55.
You know, Charlie, on international standards, these scores seem a bit high, but it was a good, clean routine.
Shirley's 9.55 puts in a tie in the first round with Beth Johnson, and that will bring up in the uneven parallel bars two-time British Olympian Susan Cheesebrough.
Watch the extension in Susan's legs and feet. Very tight. Right up to a handstand pirouette, beat front somersault. Back overshoot over the low bar. Getting ready for her dismount. Hecked off the low bar.
Susan was 2 times the British national champion and their team captain.
Charlie, Susan's performance is a good example of what the athletes are trying to accomplish here. They want to be clean, do a few stunts that will impress the crowd as we see her go for her front somersault right here. That's impressive. And visually, people like to see things like that, but they don't want to make any mistakes.
Susan's score, a 9.6. So at the end of the first round, Susan Cheesebrough has the lead over Shirley Wong, Beth Johnson, and Sharon Shapiro. And in this special performance, 2 are better than 1, even on the uneven bars. And we now move to the second round of the competition. All 4 girls have elected to perform on the beam. Already Beth Johnson has a 9.25 and Susan Cheesebrough a 9.65. And here is Sharon Shapiro, 5-time member of the U.S. national team.
Sharon is an aggressive, determined performer. Usually when she puts her mind to it on the balance beam, she can hit a good routine. Showing her balance and flexibility, good pirouette. Gaining back handspring. There's a split leap, one of the requirements in a balance beam routine to do leaps and jumps. There's another requirement, turns. A side leap. That adds the element of risk and showmanship. Good, solid front somersault. Now getting ready for a dismount. That's a performance I'm sure Sharon is happy with.
Sharon Shapiro is the only collegiate gymnast to win the all-around title and sweep all 4 events.
And Charlie, Sharon performs best under pressure. Watch her as she goes for this front somersault. She is determined to land that, no steps taken. And she makes it look easy, too. Let's take a close-up look just at the small area that she has to land on. That's only 4 inches wide up there on the balance beam. Not much room for error.
An excellent score for Sharon Shapiro on the balance beam, a 9.8.
Tempe, Arizona.
And now from Tempe, Arizona, Shirley Wong, who needs a 9.75 to take the lead here in the second round of the competition.
Shirley begins her balance beam routine with a press to a handstand. Pirouette out. Back handspring right into another back handspring. Scissors leap. That's difficult. Ooh, nice aerial cartwheel. Shirley's very light on her feet. Here comes Shirley's flexibility move right into the straddle splits. Little smile for the audience. And the dismount. Full twisting back somersault.
That was a nice routine by Shirley Wong.
Very consistent. I think Shirley's maturity really showed through. She was in control of that routine. Here we see some dance combinations. Leap on the balance beam. And then Shirley goes into her flexibility move. You know, to a lot of people that looks very difficult, but to be real honest, that's probably the one point in her routine where she is the most comfortable on the beam. She has a wide base of balance, and she can even take her eyes off the beam and look at the crowd.
And Shirley Wong's score a 9.65, so she stays in second place. At the end of the second round, Susan Cheesebrough continues to lead. And today we're enjoying competition and show business, doubling our fun.
Arriving this morning from Romania, Miss Pauline Huntescue.
This is Charlie Jones and Nancy Thies-Marsha. We're back in Miami Beach for the American Pro Gymnastics Classic. Next up, arriving this morning from Romania, is Pauletta Huntescue. Actually, this is Paul Hunt. He's delighted gymnasts and coaches as well as spectators all across the country. And we asked Paul how his comedy evolved.
A lot of it's evolved doing shows and in what works in front of people and in what the kids also do in the gym that no one else ever gets to see. And some things that, you know, bad points about gymnastics, like everyone's so serious about gymnastics and it's always so much work and work and work and no play. And it kind of pokes fun at that aspect of the sport.
He really is an exceptional gymnast.
He is. I think that's what makes him so good. You watch the way he performs and he makes everybody laugh, but watch this. Back flip on the balance beam.
Beam is fun. There's, you know, lots of little poses and stuff that different gymnasts do, of which, and little stylizations that they have, and trying to come across enough with that so they can identify with the gymnast, and then kind of poking fun at, you know, what happens. I mean, we've had some class 3s and 4s that have fallen underneath the beam, and when it was a point to fall off, they would hang underneath and, you know, not dare let their feet touch. And just lots of little things have evolved that way.
Flexibility.
And there's some more flexibility. Nancy, this has to be familiar. This is your 1972 Olympic routine.
Charlie, I remember the first time Paul ever did this. We were in a competition together, and I had finished competing, And we needed to kill some time, so we went backstage, and I gave Paul my leotard, and he put it on and went out, and I think did a better job than I did. There's his gymnastics ability. Tremendous performer.
Paul is 30 years old, and we ask him for Pauletta Huntescue. Would there be life after gymnastics? Here's what he said.
After I get too old to do routines like this, coaching and trying to make the little girls good gymnasts, but also make them good people. And good little people are a lot more important than necessarily, you know, real good gymnasts.
Charlie, with attitudes like that, whether it's coaching or performing, I think Paul will always be a success. Very expressive.
The fabulous Pauletta Huntescue. Now to the final round of the competition. Here's the leader, Susan Cheesebrough, on the floor exercise.
And pizzazz is the word to describe Susan's routine. I think from the choreography all the way down to the leotard that's worn, Susan has very methodically chosen a routine that pleases the crowd. Last tumbling run. Layout back somersault.
From Southport, England, 23-year-old Susan Cheesebrough. Still to come in the floor exercise, Sharon Shapiro and Shirley Wong. Susan's score, a 9.4. Her lead may be in jeopardy. In the floor exercise, Beth Johnson, a 9.65. Susan Cheesebrough, a 9.4. Here is Sharon Shapiro. She needs a 9.65 to take the lead in the competition.
Here comes her first tumbling pass. Double full. Good height on that. Charlie, talking to Sharon earlier, realized that her excitement for the sport has really been rejuvenated by the fact that she can be a part of this professional program.
That's a good point, Nancy, because these youngsters are at their height of their athletic ability. This gives them a professional outlet, such as the ice shows do for the amateur ice skaters.
Another full twist.
Miss Sharon Shapiro.
And remember, Sharon needs a 9.65 or better to take the lead here in the final round.
We watch her aggressive tumbling ability. Round off, back handspring, double twist. Pretty tight body and a good landing.
Sharon's score, a 9.75, so she has moved into first place. The only challenger remaining is Shirley Wong. Shirley needs a 9.65 to win the overall title here.
I've seen a real improvement in Shirley's dancing ability just in the last year, and I think it's due to the fact that she's been performing a lot. There's a double twisting back somersault. Round off Arabian, tuck back somersault. Notice the athletes trying to get their focus off the ground and out into the audience. It's a way to communicate with the audience and bring them into your performance. Change of pace here.
Okay, the super Shirley Wong.
And remember, Shirley needs a 9.65 to win here, and she may have gotten it, Nancy. Good performance.
As I said before, she's a clean performer, and we watched this tumbling run a round-off Arabian, which is going backwards and doing a half turn, forward out of it, and then into a back tuck somersault.
Shirley score a 9.75, so she does it. She comes through in the floor exercise to win the all-around competition. And today we've seen a combination of athletic ability and show business.
I'm in Miami Beach, Florida, and this is radiant Wendy Hilliard, 5-time USA National Team member, here performing with the ribbon, one of 5 individual events in rhythmic gymnastics. Points to remember, the end of the ribbon must never lay still on the ground, always has to be moving. Also, Wendy needs to hold on to the baton with both hands throughout the routine. This is a unique sport where the apparatus is actually used to create art, whether it's through lines, color, or just the actual performance. Wendy is fantastic at reaching out to the audience and involving them in what she's doing.
And now we come to the finale of the American Professional Gymnastics Classic. This combination of athletic ability and show business.
It's a great example for anybody who's ever wondered how gymnastics events could ever be used to entertain people. There's the vaulting horse with a mini tramp underneath it. Kurt Thomas, right up to a balance. Now watch this. Together, performing their gymnastics ability, entertaining the crowd.
The perfect ending to a perfect performance. Again, congratulations to Shirley Wong for winning the women's competition. Our thanks to all the gymnasts here. For Nancy Thies-Marshall, I'm Charlie Jones. So long from Miami Beach. Welcome to Miami Beach and the American Professional Gymnastics Classic. Today you'll see
Tommy Wilson, 2-time British Olympic team member and 10-time national team member.
Dan Price, graduate of the University of Minnesota and former Big Ten all-around champion.
Multi-talented Ron Galimore, crowd favorite, 4-time NCAA champion and 1980 Olympian.
And Kurt Thomas, 2-time NCAA champion, 3 times world champion, and the first gymnast to ever win the Sullivan Award as America's top amateur athlete. In the American Professional Gymnastics Classic, the gymnasts choose 4 out of the 6 events they will be competing for prize money. And in the floor exercise, Dan Price got us started.
This is definitely one of Dan's better events. Very strong tumbler. First pass. Great run. Notice the height that Dan gets. Punch front somersault. 1 3/4. Another punch front somersault. One of the things that the gymnasts have been told is to create routines that will be appealing to the audience.
He has certainly done that. He has the audience with him.
Very high double back somersault. Look at that landing. He nails it.
22-year-old Dan Price of Tempe, Arizona.
And what a dismount. Good height in the double back somersault. No steps on the landing.
Dan Price's score, a 9.95. Now, earlier, Ron Galimore had a 9.85, so Price moves in front of him, and that brings up Kurt Thomas. He has chosen the pommel horse as his first event.
This is the event that Kurt is very well known for. Perhaps the toughest event in men's gymnastics. There's his flare. Scissors moves. It's important that the gymnasts use all areas of the horse. Good high dismount.
Kurt Thomas. Kurt's score, a 9.85, so after the first round, Dan Price has the lead with that 9.95 in the floor exercise. Kurt Thomas and Ron Galimore are tied for second. In the second event, Dan Price, the leader, choosing the rings, had some problems, a 9.65, and that brings up Ron Galimore on the rings.
And if the pommel horse is the most difficult of all men's events, this event is the most physically taxing to the men. Swing to handstands. Of course, the goal is not to let those rings or the straps move at all. Iron cross. Look at the smile. What a hand. There's his press to handstand, another requirement in a ring routine. Good dismount.
Ron Galimore, 4-time NCAA champion, and his score on the rings, a 9.85. Kurt Thomas, as his second event, has chosen the vault.
On men's gymnastics, the men have one chance to do a good vault.
What happened, Nancy?
Well, obviously, Kurt didn't do the vault that he wanted to. It looked like his hand slipped as he was reaching for that horse. Approaching here, he goes for the vault, chooses to land on the far end. See, his right hand slipped off. Of course, you can't get good enough push there to perform what you want to do. Let's have another look here. Very important to have your hands placed just right so you can get the push off the horse that you need to perform your post flight. It does look like it's lifted.
And watch how Kurt rolls out of the landing to keep from hurting himself. So after the second round, Ron Galimore has taken the lead. Kurt Thomas has dropped to fourth. We come now to the penultimate third round of the American Professional Gymnastics Classic, and Ron Galimore has chosen the vault.
On this event, the judges are looking for height and distance off the horse. And Ron displayed both of those. After pushing off the horse, he actually takes orbit. Look at how high he is. Has a good landing.
Ron Galimore's score, a 9.9, and that gives him an insurmountable lead as we move to the final round. But in the final round, there are also some outstanding performances. Kurt Thomas on the high bar.
And this is one of the events that Kurt was a world champion on. Many people like to call it the circus event, and you can tell why. It's exciting to watch. Wow. Swinging very well. The invert. That takes a lot of strength. Now winding up for his dismount.
Kurt Thomas, who is now 26 years old and makes his home in Scottsdale, Arizona.
We're going to take a look at Kurt's release move. Look at how high his hips are here as he rotates in his somersault. He's way above that ball.
And for Kurt Thomas, his score on the high bar, it's perfect. It's a 10. And that brought up Ron Galimore. Now remember, Ron has his big lead, but he still went for it. An outstanding performance.
And Ron is definitely a crowd favorite here. Near his hometown of Tallahassee, Florida. There's his release move. Reverse hex over the bar. Great. Dislocate. Back Stalders. Winding up for his dismount. Oh, that was a super routine.
And for Ron Galimore, a member of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team, on the high bar, a 9.75. And with that, the victory. From Miami Beach, for Nancy Dietz Marshall, I'm Charlie Jones. So long, everybody.